National Education, Health and Allied Workers Union ended its strike action at the University of South Africa on Tuesday, and all its members have returned to work. The strike started on Thursday, 26 January, after wage negotiations deadlocked at the CCMA on Monday of the same week. After intense and lengthy negotiations, NEHAWU and UNISA agreed on the following increases: an 8% wage increase for workers on salary level P8 to P19, a 6.5% increase for workers on salary level P7, a 6.4% increase for workers on salary level P6, and a 5% increase for workers on salary level P5. This settlement includes an 8% increase for housing allowance for workers on salary level P9 to P10. The new salary increases will be implemented on the 15th February 2017. Lastly, the no work, no pay principle will not apply, and no legal action will be taken by the university against workers who were on strike. Home Affairs Minister Malusi Gigaba and representatives from the hospitality sector have agreed on the 60% employment of South Africans in the sector. However, the Congress of South African Trade Unions is not happy about this and said that the unions were never consulted about this meeting and agreement. The Home Affairs Department has also agreed to investigate claims of CBMI construction that brought in a workforce of about 242 illegal Chinese immigrants to do work on their PPC cement project. This is what Sizwe Pamla, spokesperson of Cosatu, had to say about this.
The problem we have with the Chinese situation is that while other economic refugees tend to venture into a journey to South Africa on their own, with the Chinese, we suspect, and all the evidence point to the fact that they are not here by themselves. They were actually sponsored to come to this country by their companies and by the state. So that's the problem that we have, is that we cannot have a state-sponsored the kind of migration. We can't have companies come to do business in South Africa and they import workers. When we are looking for foreign direct investment, that foreign direct investment is supposed to ensure that we deal with the social ills that we have in terms of our economic situation, including reducing the rate of unemployment. So we are not going to allow a situation as Cosatu, where our own workers are being retrenched and replaced by workers from China, who, by the way, are not protected by the labor laws of this country.
The National Union of Mine Workers has declared a dispute with the Chamber of Mines in the coal sector. The mining union had a meeting with the Chamber of Mines on the 20th of January 2017, where the Chamber of Mines confirmed that they are prepared to remain in the centralized bargaining forum. However, the Chamber of Mines has now reversed its decision and informed unions that centralized bargaining negotiations would not take place this year. The NUM intends to refer the matter to the CCMA and will also begin picketing until the CCMA issues them with a certificate to strike. Then it will embark on a national strike. In other news, the South African poultry industry has come under fire, with chicken imports being blamed for the impending job losses. The negative effects of this crisis have already been felt by workers at RCL Foods' Rainbow Chicken plant in Hammersdale, which has started retrenching some of its workforce. CEO of the Association of Meat Importers and Exporters of South Africa, David Walpert, says that the problem is not the imports, which only account for 14%, but rather the lack of the complete export program. The giant federation Cosatu said this about it.
What we need to do now is to use this as an opportunity to bring in those emerging farmers and help them to seek alternative markets. That is what we need to do. So, for example, we are aware that in areas like Northwest, in areas like Limpopo, in areas like KZN, there are there are poultry farms that are shutting down. We think that government has to find a way of subsidizing emerging small black farmers to take over those industries, including cooperatives, including communities, and then help them with financing, help them to ensure that they've got easy access to finance, help them with training, and then help them to seek markets outside of this country. Because we are actually a victim of our trade agreements with Europe and the US. We do not work together with our African counterparts. That is an issue that we have to address. We don't have an export program because we have since convinced each other that when it comes to exporting, we have to export to the US, or we have to export it to China, we have to export it to the Europe. We have to start looking. We have 1 billion population in this continent alone, 1 billion population. So it can't be that we say there is no market out there. We are just not paying attention. We have to start thinking outside of the box.
The Union of Mine Workers recently concluded a 1-year wage agreement with geomechanics in a bid to end a 3-day strike that had started on Monday, the 10th of January, with workers demanding a salary increase of 50% across the board, provident fund, and bonuses. This agreement is a first of its kind between the National Union of Mine Workers and the Drilling Mineral Exploration Company and will be valid for the period of 2016 up to the end of 2017. What this means is that workers at geomechanics will receive a wage increase of 10% backdated from June 2016. The workers will also receive a 300 Rand allowance per day for work duties performed outside the country. A provident fund will also be created with a 7.5 contribution from both the workers and employer. The NUM concluded this deal with the arrangement of forming a task team that will look into other matters such as allowances and medical aid, and this task team will be expected to report back to its members. Lastly, Cosatu is pleased with the signing of the Unemployment Insurance Fund Amendment Act into law. According to the Union Federation, this Amendment Act will benefit thousands of unemployed workers and mothers going on maternity leave. Cosatu also raised concerns that the exclusion of key areas such as resignations, informal sector workers including taxi drivers, as well as paternity, parental adoption leave needs to be addressed.
We are very happy firstly as Cosatu because we've played a very crucial role in ensuring that there is this act. UIF would only pay you for 8 months, but this time around we as Cosatu have argued and made sure that this is extended to 12 months to say, can you at least try to give these people a 12-month period to look for new employment and make sure that the families don't go hungry during that period. Secondly, you will have instances where workers who go on maternity, they were receiving 52% of their salaries during the maternity period. We have negotiated for an increase under this act. Now they will get 66% of their salaries, which is quite a significant increase. You will remember that the public servants were not covered under UIF. So we have brought in public servants into the fold, which means now we have got 1.3 million. When it comes to the tragedies of pregnancy, for example, when we have a stillborn child in the third trimester, for example, UIF does cover that, which means you get your full benefits because the trimester is really regarded as a fully fledged life.